Today I'm going to be going through my mix template. This is kind of my starting point with every session I work on, and I import audio tracks that I get into this template. I'm gonna be able to show you how I can get stuff routed relatively quick, and just it makes my process a lot easier and quicker, and I'm able to move between songs with a lot of ease. It also doesn't matter what genre it is. This is how I start, and it's basically a lot of routing. I have some plugins on there. I have all of these active right now. They're usually all inactive when they start, but this is gonna help me show you each one. Starting at the top, real quick, I'm gonna import all the audio tracks in and break them down. I'll usually have all my drums first in this section. The first thing I have here is, this is an actual audio track, and it's called kick top. So what I do is I'll duplicate the kick drum and put the audio on this track as well. So on the actual audio track of the kick drum, I'll, whatever processing I need, there'll be a duplicate of this. And what this is the first thing I have is a PSP 202 filter, just filtering off all the bottom. This is gonna be just the top, and then I have a black box right after it, just adding some saturation. So this is gonna be a super squashed, super thin, but just the top, and it's gonna help that attack and click really cut through. Okay, and then I have all of my drums right after that, and I'll process each audio track differently. All of them end up at this all drums track, and we have a Navy 2 by Acoustica on there. I also do have a parallel drums, and then depending, you see a bunch of options over here. It depends on what I want to use. I'll decide and make that decision over there. Then after that, I have my bass. Because I'm working on a lot of hip hop, this is usually an 808, but sometimes it's a live bass, it just depends. But it's all the bass elements. And then again, I process that the way it needs to be processed. I have a parallel Voice of God and a parallel distortion track on there as well. It just again, on these again, you see the levels, they're pretty low. I'll blend them in and send from the audio track to there. Then all of that stuff goes to my bass aux. Over there I have this plugin, the Ruby 2 by Acoustica, and you'll see I end up using this quite a lot. It's nothing, it's all flat right now. I'll dial it in depending on that. Depending on the source, some 808s need a lot of help in the low end, some don't. It just, it's a song by song basis. Then after that, I have Spectre, which it's flat right now, but Spectre does parallel equalization and saturation. It does it in a really cool way. It looks like the EQ, but it's actually working slightly different. So I love that guy. Then I have this Oxford Dynamic EQ right after that. Just, just a little bit. You can see it barely, it says 2 dB. This is barely going more than 1. And it just helps tame things in when I push it too much. Right after the bass, I have what I call the keys, but it's really just, all the musical elements. And you see, there's a lot of these inactive plugins here. Sometimes they're just there, so I know that that's what I would normally do, or I could start from scratch and just go with something new. But what I'll do is I'll either leave it on the bus or drag these to the individual tracks and work on them that way. So, oh yeah, and this is a hardware insert. This goes to my Better Maker bus compressor, and it has this is just sending control information to my analog Better Maker. And then over here, I have this new plugin by Mixwave called the CA70S, and they have just done a really good job at modeling the hardware unit. This just makes anything sound good and analog, analog-y. The way they've done the negative feedback, when you turn it down, it kind of adds brightness back, but when you just put it on right there, it just warms everything up. And now the low boost, the low, it moves where the bump is. So if it's a little too dark for you, you can push it up and just bring it forward a little bit, and just helps things sit in the mix really well. Been using it a lot recently. Then I have this lead vocal aux, and this one, I've actually, it's not in this session. I pulled this from a different session just to go over something real quick. With this, it's really, it depends. Everyone's voice is different, every record is different, so it's a case-by-case thing. But it's kind of a similar workflow. So I'll have a lot of processing on the individual audio track, and then it hits this bus. To start with over here, there's a 404. There's this plugin called the de-edger, which gets rid of mid-range harshness and soothe. So all of these things are different, let's just call them dynamic, almost EQ, dynamic compressors or dynamic EQ or dynamic resonance suppressors. And on this particular record, I had Ozone 10 after that, and it's doing more dynamic in the mid-range. Spectral Shaper doing the same thing. It's a lot of cutting and taming things, and only then do I start adding. Over here, I had a stabilizer right after. Let's see what we can, again, notching out that mid-range, upper mids, and then a little bit of a limiter on there as well. Let's see what this guy's doing. Again, this record probably was very harsh and needed a lot of help in that area. And then, yeah, again, another de-esser, the Weiss de-esser, which I really like. I use that quite a bit as well. After that, we have the Neutron 4 EQ. Yep, this is doing more cutting. So far, there's been no boosts on anything. LA2A, just to finish it off, and then the Phoenix on there as well. And then we have this plugin that I end up using quite a lot. It's the Ultramarine, which is a Fairchild by Acoustica. Once I'm done with the mix, I'll do like these little vocal throws and effects, and they won't be stagnant through the whole record. It'll just be on individual words, individual sections. And this folder over here, it's gonna look a little crazy, but it's like my starting point. I'll loop a section, I'll commit the audio from the lead track, and then just loop a section and drag it down one by one and see. It's a great starting point. If I don't like any of them, or if it doesn't work for the record, I'll just come up with something from scratch. But this is like a really cool starting point. You'll see like right at the bottom, I have a bunch of reverb throws. Up this middle section over here is all kind of just modulation stuff, you know, harmonizers, stuff like that, and then a bunch of delay throws with a bunch of different, you know, there's the eighth, quarter, half, and different types of them. There's even like a bunch of 16 stuff, slaps as well, and this will just be like for one word, maybe the hook at the end of it, each set. Like it just depends. Every record, like I said, every record is different. After this, this section over here is where all the audio gets routed to, and you see I have master faders for everything. So if I need to reduce the level going into them, I can do it pretty easily. All of this then goes to my summing mixer outside. I do have this on the vocals. I love this chicken head plugin, and it's that final stage of glue that brings everything together and takes care of any peaks and all that might be. After this, it's actually pretty cool. I can show you. I have a digital patch bay by Flock Audio, and this is just controlling. It's essentially just a patch bay for my hardware, and you can see it goes out of my summing mixer to a Fusion, the VT5 by Fern. I have West Audio NG bus comp, then the Master Bus processor by Portico, back into my Burl and in. And then I have this software called Session Recall, where I note the settings on the hardware. So you can kind of, like, you know, this is not actually controlling the unit, it's just send screenshots. So whatever I do, I save it over here. And as you can see at the bottom, I have a lot of these for, like, you know, whatever session I work on. All right, so then once it comes back into the box from the analog world, you know, there's a couple of things. There's a MuX limiter, there's a Shadow Hills compressor, something, the BX, and then I have a Ozone 11. This we can check out. It's just doing a little bit of dynamic stuff. You can see it's a multi-band compression, but the dry wet is pretty low. And then an exciter just exciting the mids and sometimes the highs. It just depends on the record. Then a couple of clippers on there, decide which one I want to use, or if I want to use them all. This gold clip is pretty cool, Lavery emulation that I've been using. Now all of that goes to this track called Unlimited that has the limiters on, and that goes to the print track, which is the final. And that in doing so like that, I'm able to print my limited version and unlimited version at the same time, which is a real time saver, especially when you're using analog. Then we have just some basic sends, and then, like, you know, with this section I'll add based on the record, or I'll bring in whatever was there in the tracking session and add to that. I've got a Bricacity, and then this plugin just controls the Bricacity, couple of delays and reverbs, you know, standard stuff. got some eventide chorusy things just to add a little depth on records. And yeah, that's a quick overview of my mix template. You know, it's every record kind of goes through the same thing and has the same starting point, and will add and take away things as it's needed. But it also keeps records across an album sounding cohesive. Again, like, you know, everything is EQ'd and compressed slightly differently, but I use the same tools for the most part. That way they all have the same sonic characteristics. Well, thank you for watching, guys. I'm Bainz, and that's my mix template. You can follow me on Instagram at BAINZZZ. Stay tuned. Thank you.